you were to jump into a live stream and ask me what the best all-time season of Fortnite was, I would tell you Chapter 2, Season 7. But see, that's not my favorite season. When I think back to when I had the most fun playing, it was always OG Fortnite. Now understand, I have had some amazing moments that have rivaled OG since then. Starting my journey as a content creator during the Invasion season, following the storyline through Chapter 3, playing with arguably the best loot pool in Fortnite history during Chapter 4. But even with all of those amazing memories, nothing compares to my time playing those first 10 seasons of Fortnite. When people used to come to my live streams back in 2021 and ask me what was my favorite Fortnite season, I always had one era of OG in mind. What's crazy is, after 4 years of making Fortnite content, that answer hasn't changed. Next week, Fortnite OG is going to drop its 3rd season, and even though I know it'll be fun, that's not what excites me. Simply because I know what comes after. I know when OG Fortnite is going to reach its true peak. To put it bluntly, Season 6 through 8 is when Fortnite OG actually gets good. Now look, I know that everybody's got their favorite seasons, everyone's got their favorite memories of OG Fortnite. This is not to say that the seasons that came before or after were not good seasons. However, if you're one of the people that's been playing OG Fortnite, the redone version of it, for the last few months, you're probably noticed something by now. The first 3 seasons of OG pretty much feel the same. Yes, there are some decent loot pool changes. Yes, there are some map changes, but generally speaking, the overall flow of the game feels identical each and every season. This was the case up until about Season 5. Now, if that's the case, why isn't Season 5 when Fortnite really started to get good? Well, here's the thing. Season 5 was the first season that was actually riddled with controversy. Everyone loves to talk about how bad Wrecked was, or Primal, or Wilds, but a lot of people forget about Fortnite Chapter 1 Season 5. This was the season that made a lot of people quit. This is the genesis of the Fortnite is dead trend. Also keep this in mind too, double pump was removed, people were getting insanely good at building because Playground has been in the game for a few months now. Builds got insanely nerfed for the amount of health that they had, and to top it off, we had the first spray and pray meta introduced, specifically with the OG Combat SMG and P90. These suckers were broken. This is when you get all those clips of the streamers just using exclusively P90s in their inventory. I remember the first few weeks of Season 5 and my friends wanting to quit playing Fortnite, and a lot of them did because it was just entirely too frustrating. The game was trying to do something that they didn't like, so instead they decided to play something that they did, which was Call of Duty. Now for me, I wasn't ready to give up on Fort yet. The way I looked at it was this: people are getting better than me at the game and my friends are leaving. Well, there's only 2 solutions for me. I need to get new friends, and I also need to get better at the game. And that's exactly what I did. And see, this is where Fortnite Chapter 6 comes in, because as frustrating as 5 may have been, 6 was really the light at the end of the tunnel. This was the first season that felt cinematic to me. There's something about the way this season was presented, as well as the different layers of gameplay that were added through the various updates, that just made it the perfect experience for the time. What I want you guys to understand is that between Season 6 through 8, this was probably the most special time in Fortnite history. I think this is when the game was the most popular. This is probably when we had the least amount of controversies. Doesn't mean that there weren't people frustrated about the game and there weren't things to be frustrated about, but I think generally speaking, the community was pretty happy with where the game was at this point. People hadn't been burnt out of Fortnite yet. Not to mention the diversity between themes, the new mechanics, as well as map changes were some of the best of this era. For example, one of the cool features of Season 6 was infinite glider redeploy. I love this. Everybody loved this. If you didn't have a launch pad, no worries. Just build up, jump off, you can start gliding to your heart's content. Outside of infinite glider redeploy, we had the Loot Lake Tornado with the Cube Island. The island would eventually move around the map over the coming weeks, and it was amazing rotation. You know, the more I think about the features that were added during Season 6, the more I'm starting to realize that this was probably one of the best, most cohesive season themes of all time. We were really building up to the first true Fortnitemares. This is the season when we would first have the cube zombies added in, but also the shadow cubes, which would turn you into a ghost. You could walk through walls, disappear, and fly. You were much more unique than the other. Wait, hold. Okay, that's a different show. But I think the point still remains. Outside of being able to become Danny Phantom, the overall atmosphere of the island and just the game in general were so good. Also, let me just say this right now. If there was one song that I thought fit the mood and set the tone for this entire season, it's hands down the squeaky clean jam track. I had the sucker playing in my lobby all throughout Season 6, and although it's not a spooky song, it definitely sets that eerie tone that gives a really nice Halloween-y Fortnite kind of a vibe. Also, speaking of Halloween-y Fortnite vibes, look at the lobby. This is probably my all-time favorite Fortnite lobby. Between the candles and the jack-o'-lanterns, the spooky fog in the background with the graveyard kind of a feel, all of this just screams Halloween. And look, even the actual Fortnite Island did too. This is the first time we had fog added into BR, the first time we had some kind of real environmental change. That combined with the cube zombies, the lobby, the music, everything overall just made this a very unique experience. One thing that I started to notice playing Fortnite at this time was that Fortnite liked to homage or reference other pop cultural events that were happening in the gaming space. You see, this year Red Dead Redemption 2 was going to be dropping at the end of October. So what did Fortnite do? Well, they added in some cowboy skins, Calamity as well as Deadfire. We also got the 6-shooter added into Fortnite for the first time. Coincidence? I think not. I've said this before, but I almost wish that Fortnite had never gotten so tied down with collabs. I love collabs, they're fun, I see their utility, but there was something to be said about when Epic paid homage to something. When they would make a parody of something rather than bringing that thing directly into the game. Now, if all these things I mentioned weren't enough to show you how much more diverse and interesting the gameplay was at this time and why I think this is when OG really started getting good, I honestly think that one of the other reasons why I feel this way is because the gameplay just started to feel a little bit more balanced. Now, don't get me wrong, we still had our fair share of unbalanced weapons. Just look at the minigun and tell me if you think that this is balanced.
Let's go, baby.
Absolutely broken, and we loved every second of it. You know, if I'm being honest about my bias, I think one of the big reasons why I think this era of Fortnite is when it really started getting good isn't just because Epic Games themselves were starting to figure out what Fortnite was. It's because us as players were also kind of getting the gist of it. Season 6 for a lot of us was a turning point. This is when and I think a lot of other OG Fortnite players actually started getting good at the game. Now listen, this is a crucial detail that I did not bring up at the start, but since we're entering Season 7, I think it's the perfect time. There's something very important that I learned from Season 5 to 6, which is that when you are forced to play with new people, especially people that are better than you, it forces you to get a lot better. You start to understand the game a lot more. You're starting to learn how the game is played. I also think Season 6 was around the time when I started watching other streamers play Fortnite more consistently, and because of that, it made the game so much more rewarding. Now listen, Season 7 is another one of those seasons where Fortnite was riddled with controversy, not necessarily as much as Season 5, but there were some things that people just absolutely hated. For example, airplanes. I remember how broken everybody thought these things were, and at the time, it makes sense because movement was a lot different than it is in Fortnite now, and the player base played a lot different. However, I think if they brought planes back in the modern day, they would be nowhere near as difficult to deal with as they were back in Chapter 1. When I think about Fortnite Season 7, I just think about how many insane changes we got this season. Outside of the planes, we got our second brand new biome, which was the ice biome. The Infinity Blade was added this time. How could I not mention that? I'll be honest, I was so trash at Fortnite that even with the Infinity Blade, I was still a sitting duck. Season 7 was also the first time the Fortnite Island was completely covered in snow. Although the Ice King event is one of the weaker events in Fortnite history, what it brought with it was a lot of fun and something that the community had been asking for about a year. We wanted the island to be covered in snow. This was something that we were asking for all the way back in Season 2. true. I thought it was so neat how Fortnite could just update their map like that and just completely change the environment. At the time, I could have never fathomed that something like that was possible inside of a video game for a company just to be like, you know what, we just want to add this thing in here. Now, outside of the planes and our first white Christmas in Fortnite, there are two other features that really stand out to me when I think back to how amazing Season 7 was. The first is something that's a little ironic, which is that the seeds for the metaverse were actually being planted here. This was the first time we had an in-game concert inside of Fortnite. Everyone loves to go on and talk about the Travis Scott event, which was absolutely amazing for the time. However, it was Marshmello that had started off the whole thing. And let me tell you this right now, anybody that played Fortnite during this time was completely blown away by the idea of having a live concert inside of Fortnite. This is the moment, I think, for a lot of us that made us realize Fortnite is more than just a BR. I remember one of my friends telling me at the time that this is the future of gaming, that within the next 10 years, this is how we're going to be experiencing concerts. Everybody's going to be doing it from home in some kind of video game, running around with skins, doing emotes in lobbies. And to be fair, they weren't completely wrong. This is definitely a first for Fortnite, but it was not the last. However, something that would be the last for this season is how meaningful death was in BR. A lot of people don't remember this, but Fortnite didn't always used to have reboot cards. Hold the revive, hold the revive, hold the revive, hold the f***ing holy sh**, they have no idea we're here. And now, no one wanted to be the first person on their team to get wiped out, especially if it was early game. If you and your friends land at a hot drop, you die, and every single one of them are good players, guess what? You're going to be sitting there waiting to play Fortnite for the next 20 minutes until they finish winning the round without you. It was the most humbling and humiliating experience of all of OG Fortnite.
He's right here. He's right here.
Out of here, kid.
Come get me. 7, 6, 4.
Remember that one time you let me die?
I did not let you die.
Yeah, remember
Leave
that
it
one?
alone, kid.
Remember that
Leave
one
it
time?
alone.
Say what?
They're outside. Why did? Oh, what happened? Did you just?
Are you okay?
I'm honestly speechless.
Now, before we get to Season 8, I want you to notice something. Do you see how different the gameplay is between Season 6 and Season 7? Now, compare that to the first 3 seasons of Fortnite OG that we've had so far. There is not as much variety yet, which is why I said revisiting these older seasons of Fortnite just is not that exciting. And I'll be honest with you, for those of you guys who are watching this in the future, when we get to Seasons 4 and 5, even though the gameplay does get mixed up quite a bit, it's not to the same level of diversity as Season 6, 7, and now, of course, 8. Season 8 is a weird one to reflect on because this was the first time I think a lot of us were starting to get bored with Fortnite. Now listen, to be fair, Epic Games tried to do everything in their power to overcome this fatigue. For example, they gave us Season 8 Battle Pass for free because they were trying to compete with Apex. One thing that I will say about this season is that fights felt far more consistent and the pace of BR definitely felt sped up. This is because of one key feature that was actually added in Season 7 that I did not mention until now because it was actually in the game for such a short period of time. And before recording this video, I didn't realize how brief of a time it was actually inside of Fortnite. This mechanic is none other than Siphon. Because we were rewarded for good gameplay, and because fights were a little less riskier because we could get health back, we were more eager to push fights. The third parties were unreal on some days. Back to back, non-stop action. It was amazing. And see, this is something that I almost feel like is lost in Fortnite's culture right now. There are so many people that want to advocate for bot lobbies, but the thing is, Fortnite at its core is a PvP experience, and this is what all of us at the time expected. We all wanted to fight real players. Some of the other cool things that were a part of this season were hoverboards. Granted, we had them before in Season 7, but Season 8, they really had amazing utility, especially with those geysers that were added with the new volcano and jungle biome. You'd be right on the hoverboard, hit a geyser, do a backflip. Oh man, it was great rotation. Also, speaking of the jungle biome, listen to what me and my friend had the audacity to say at this time.
I wanted something else to change.
I thought Tilted was going to be deleted. Like, what the
100% deleted, not just partially deleted, like all the way through.
To think, we were actually upset that Fortnite didn't add more. I didn't realize how much content we were actually being given at the time, and I was very unappreciative of the state of the game. At this point, we've had 3 new biomes in 3 seasons. it still wasn't enough. And once again, that's because this is the season where the burnout started to creep in. I think Season 8 probably had one of the best jungle biomes in Fortnite history. It wasn't too much, but it was just enough to kind of change up the dynamic of the map. It definitely felt like a jungle, but it wasn't crazy enough to where people were camping 24/7 and you couldn't see opponents. The volcano was really cool, the geysers were really cool, and it was just fun to play on the map in this area. This was the season that also gave us the Unvaulting event and the return of the drum gun. One thing that I'm noticing by looking back at these 3 seasons of Fortnite is that Epic was consistently trying to give us new ways to rotate around the island, whether that be Cube Island tornadoes, hoverboards, the new ATVs that can make us fly across the map, ballers, infinite glider redeploy, whatever it was, there was so many ways just to get from point A to point B. You know what's crazy is by the end of Fortnite Season 8, I was starting to win so many rounds so consistently, whether it be solos or squads with friends. These 3 seasons absolutely made me a better player, but it also is what shaped my core philosophy that I would eventually share with all of you guys on this channel. The idea that Fortnite is more fun with friends, that you can have fun regardless of what the meta is, that sometimes you need to take a break from Fortnite because you've been playing too much. Things that I've said on this channel for the last few years, this is where it comes from. This was the genesis of my philosophy, even if at the time I didn't realize it yet. And I honestly think that's why this era of Fortnite holds such a special place in my heart. And listen, to be fair, maybe I am a little biased. Maybe Season 5 is when you think Fortnite actually started getting good, or maybe it was Season 4 or Season 3. I can understand all of those perspectives. Like I told you guys many times, the era in which you start Fortnite is going to have a drastic impact on what you enjoy with the game. At the time of this recording, we were about to hit Season 3 of OG, and although it's going to be insanely fun, I know that there are better things down the road, and I cannot wait for this true, fun, peak era of OG Fortnite to return to us, Seasons 6 through 8. But I want to know from you guys listening, when do you think OG Fortnite actually started getting good? What are you most excited to re-experience, or maybe even experience for the first time? Also, if you're a newer Fortnite player and you've never played this era of OG Fortnite, what do you think about it after seeing all the things that I explained to you guys today? We got a lot of banger content in front of us, guys, and I can't wait to share those moments with all of you. So until next time, I love y'all. Leave a comment down below. Let me know where your head's at, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.